Hi there, welcome. My name is Adrian and I'm a marketing specialist at LiveWebinar.com. During today's webinar, we'll focus on effectively managing your webinar room before, during and after the presentation. Just like our other automated webinars, you will also have access to this recording. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach us over at support@livewebinar.com. Now, let's see how to navigate through our webinar room. The webinar room consists of three main parts. The first one is the navigation bar with the navigation menu. The second part includes the audio and video module, the list of participants, and the chat. And the third and most important part is the content sharing screen. Let's start with the navigation bar. The navigation bar is located at the top of the page. You'll find various options there, such as the ability to enable closed captions, view event information, switch between dark and light interface modes, invite participants, change the room's appearance template, audio and video meeting mode, and whether the room should be adapted for presentations or discussions. You'll also find a button for recording the meeting and a button to start and end the session. However, it's important to remember that starting the session does not automatically start the recording. Before the event starts, make sure you press the recording button and select the appropriate recording layout. We recommend one of the last two options marked with arrows. The session start button is primarily used for statistical purposes. Once you press this button, minutes of the event session actually start counting, which later can be summarized and analyzed using our reports. Another function of this button is the participant management. After pressing the start button, all people in the waiting room will be admitted to the room. It's important to keep this in mind if we're still preparing the events backstage. However, when you press the stop button, you can log out all the participants at once, allowing you to safely end the session. Now, let's take a look at the second section with the audio and video module. This is where the speakers' cameras are displayed. From here you can manage your own camera, turn it on and off at any time, and also activate or mute your microphone. The gear button provides access to additional settings. The most important ones include the option to automatically expand the audio and video screen, which moves the camera image to where the content was previously presented. You can also disable the display of camera images and microphone sounds for participants. This is a useful option when you want to discuss something with the other presenters in the backstage, ensuring that the participants won't see or hear us. Additionally, we've got the option to enable participant reactions in the form of emojis, as well as activate virtual backgrounds or closed captions. The participant lists include all the people who have joined the meeting. From this list, the meeting host can request any user to activate the camera, microphone, as well as change the role of a participant or even remove them from the meeting. Additional options are available by clicking on the gear icon. You can, for example, deactivate the display of participants list for regular participants or mute the sound notifications when new participants join the meeting. The third element of this part of the webinar room is the chat. Here you can communicate with participants through text messages, activate automatic translation of speeches, and start a Q&A session. It is also possible to manage private chat between presenters and moderators, moderate the chat, or delete all previous messages. When additional questions from the audience appear in the chat, you have the option to mark them as questions and automatically display them in a Q&A mode. For example, at the end of the webinar part, as part of the meeting's agenda. To do this, find the questions in the chat that interest you, hover over them, and click the question mark icon. This way, the message will be marked as question and will participate in the Q&A session. To activate the Q&A session, press the gear button options on the chat screen. Select the Start Q&A option and manage the questions by clicking the green button with the eye symbol to display them or the red button to stop displaying them. This is how the Q&A session looks from the participant's perspective. If you want to end the Q&A session, click the Finish button. Let's now focus on the content sharing screen. As mentioned earlier, this is the central screen of our webinar room. To access it, simply click the plus icon in the top corner of the screen. This will expand the menu of available functionalities. One of the most important options is accessing the storage file library, where you can store presentations and any additional materials. With just one click, you can display any presentation, which I will demonstrate now. Simply click on the storage option, which will take us to the cloud available to every LiveWebinar user. Here you can upload your presentation file and display it to the webinar participants using the Present button. Some other interesting features include conducting tests and surveys, playing YouTube videos using a dedicated player, using an interactive whiteboard, sharing your screen, displaying a pop-up window with a call to action, and activating the Presence Manager to check participant activity. This option is particularly useful for conducting educational sessions. You can also conduct polls, use the Vimeo player for hosting videos on that platform, display signed captions, or use the presenter's website feature. The latter allows you to launch any website in real time or start working on a shared document in Google Docs or a Miro board. As you can see, there are additional features available here that can be purchased as options in the menu. Access to these features depends on the chosen payment plan. Some of them are also available as add-ons, which are paid room extensions. An example of such an add-on is breakout rooms, which allow you to divide participants into several groups that can work independently without interaction. You can also stream webinars directly to social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or transmit them from external sources such as OBS Studio for even better transmission quality. As I mentioned in the beginning, to smoothly end your webinar and ensure that all participants are logged out, press the Stop Session button again and select the Log Out All Participants option. If you haven't yet implemented your own personalized thank you page after the event, both you and your participants who have just attended the webinar will have the opportunity to rate and provide feedback on your organized webinar. Access to this data is available from the Statistics and Reports tab on our platform, which we will discuss shortly. Thank you very much. I hope this knowledge will help you organize webinars even better and more effectively. We invite you to the next edition, where you will learn about even more advanced features that will help you enjoy the most efficient webinars.